What's new? Businesses are reopening, but that doesn't mean we can go back to normal. The places you are most likely to catch the coronavirus, the doctors weigh in.
Our little businesses here, we can't sustain that.
Apps like Grubhub and Uber Eats have made ordering from local restaurants super easy, but some restaurants might be getting the raw end of the deal, how much they don't make from the apps. And hear from the family of an Atlanta man who was shot and killed by police. Rayshard Brooks' death now sparking more protests and demand for change. Summer reading.
With COVID-19, everybody was pushing screen time. So now we're trying to push some carpet time and just me and you and some reading.
A superhero mom is making sure all kids are getting books to read this summer. And I go one-on-one with former Browns great Joe Thomas. What he thinks is next for football. What's new starts now.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
Hello again, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for What's New. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. I'm Jay Crawford. My good friend Mike Polk is in for Betsy today. Mike, it's always good to have you in.
Good to be here. I'm very jealous you get to talk to Joe Thomas later on. That's very cool. I was, remind him, I was at a celebrity softball game with him one time. We were on opposing teams, and Len Barker struck me out at softball. That's true. I struck out at softball at a charity game. So, see if he remembers that. I can assure
you Joe will remember that. That's very rare. Mike, we will check in with you in just a bit. We start today at 5 with troubling new coronavirus numbers here in the state of Ohio. These were released by the state just a short while ago. Ohio is reporting 428 new cases in the last 24-hour reporting period, and that's an increase of 128 cases from yesterday, which is a jump of more than 40%. However, big picture, the number of 428 is in line with numbers from 4 of the past 5 days, but clearly these numbers not going down as much as we'd like to see and as fast as we'd like to see them. That's where we begin your feed at 5. Now that Ohio is reopening, where is your greatest risk for contracting the coronavirus? A study out of Michigan says there are places that are more high risk. Stands to reason. Some of it may be leaving out common sense practices. Senior health correspondent Monica Robbins explains.
Well, we know what's common sense. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and keep 6 feet apart, just to name a few. But the study looked at 5 factors. Is the activity in or outdoors? What's the distance to others? Exposure time, guideline compliance, and personal risk level. I spoke with an infectious disease expert who says when you're thinking about an event or a place, think outdoors, small groups, social distancing, and wearing a mask to help you decide if you'll participate.
Masks may actually be more effective than we originally had predicted. So in doing contact tracing, more and more contact tracers are telling us that if the person who has COVID was wearing a mask and the people that he contacted were all wearing masks, then they're finding more and more that none of the downstream people are coming up positive for COVID.
Now, your risk is higher at any event where there's a lot of people close together cheering or singing, any place that includes alcohol, such as bars where people can't wear a mask because they're drinking. That risk goes up too. If the venue is following guidelines and requiring participants to follow them too, well, the risk will go down. Monica Robbins, 3 News.
Next on your feed at 5, so many Clevelanders want to help small businesses right now who are struggling to stay afloat during this pandemic. But if you're ordering food through a delivery app like Uber Eats or one of those such things, you might think you're supporting those local businesses, but the owners tell 3 News' Rachel Polanski that there's a lot you might not know is going on with those things. Take a look.
After the coronavirus shut down dining rooms across the country, many local restaurant owners began relying on pickup orders and deliveries as their main source of income. That's why Carl Moore, a pizza shop owner in Strongsville, signed up for Grubhub, Uber Eats, and DoorDash to try and generate business.
It does help get your menu out there. You get it out there and a lot of people do see that.
But partnering with these delivery services came with a hefty price tag. Here, Moore shows me a Grubhub statement for a week in March. 5 orders. $160 worth of food. After all the fees, he walked away with $97.
It adds up.
And that's not $97 worth of profit. For a typical restaurant, fixed costs like food, labor, and overhead eat up around 90% of the money coming in. Once all expenses are paid, restaurants are typically left with a 2 to 6% net profit, which leaves little room for the fees that the delivery apps are charging, which generally is 20 to 30% of what customers pay for each order.
Our little businesses here, we can't sustain that.
And restaurant owners aren't the only ones being shortchanged by these delivery apps. Coming up at 6 o'clock on What Matters Most, we'll be talking with a delivery driver. We'll also tell you what the apps have to say. Rachel Plansky, 3 News.
Rachel, thank you very much. Today, Rayshard Brooks' widow fought back tears as she talked about how much she misses her husband. Brooks was shot and killed by police in Atlanta Friday.
There's no justice that can ever make me feel happy about what's been done. I can never get my husband back. I can never get my best friend. I can never tell my daughter, oh, he's coming to take you skating or swimming lessons.
Brooks died on his daughter's 8th birthday. His death comes on the heels of George Floyd's death. A former Minneapolis police officer kneeled on his neck until he died. Both deaths have sparked outrage, protests, and calls for police reform nationwide. We'll find out what Cleveland police is doing in a few minutes. But first, let's check in with Jay Gray with the latest on what's going on in Atlanta.
Outrage spilling into the streets of Atlanta. Thousands marching after another police shooting. Security video shows Rayshard Brooks gunned down as he was running away from officers.
It's just going to be a long time before I heal. It's going to be a long time before this family heals.
Brooks' family gathering today, pleading for justice and change through their pain.
Not only are we hurt, we are angry. When does this stop?
Police were called after Brooks apparently fell asleep behind the wheel in a Wendy's drive-through line.
I think you've had too much to drink to be driving.
Police dash and body cam video shows officers trying to arrest him after a failed sobriety test. Brooks resists, ultimately wrestling away an officer's taser. On the run, he turns and appears to point the taser at police. Officer Garrett Rolfe responding with gunfire.
No one walking this green earth expects to be shot and killed like trash in the street for falling asleep in a drive-through.
Rolfe has been fired from the force. The second officer on the scene is on administrative duty. And Atlanta's police chief, Erica Shields, has resigned in the wake of the deadly shooting. It's been exactly 3 weeks since George Floyd's death. There's been constant pressure for police policies to change. And tomorrow, President Trump is expected to sign an executive order focusing on police reform and accountability and creating a national standard for use of force. For tens of thousands across the country, and now Rayshard Brooks' family.
Y'all took the wrong person. That wasn't the person to take because he wasn't no person.
Change is a matter of life and death. Jay Gray, NBC News.
Jay, thank you very much. The recent incidents have activists and politicians calling on police departments nationwide to make those real changes. They want things like how they detain and hold suspects and how they train officers to be different. About 5 years ago, Cleveland struck a deal with the U.S. Justice Department to make those changes because of years of complaints about aggressive officers. Today, city officials updated Cleveland City Council on its progress. Police Chief Calvin Williams said use of force complaints have dropped significantly. He defended the department's progress.
I think a lot of these things are evident, but with that caveat that we do have a long way to go in making our division better. You know, when we started this thing in June of 2015, and we had that press conference at the U.S. Attorney's Office, I stated then, I still state today, my goal is to have the best police division in this country, period. And the mayor's goal was to make sure that the things that we agreed to in the settlement agreement became part of the DNA of the Division of Police.
During the meeting, council members mentioned the slow progress to hire more minority officers and complaints about the reform. The city did not have statistics available. Tonight at 6, Mark Namick breaks down that information that he got last week. Right now, it's time to check in on what's making news elsewhere. We do that with Russ Mitchell, who is back. And Russ, it's very good to see you again. A good Friday afternoon to you, or Monday afternoon to you. Wishful thinking there,
Certainly.
sorry. I understand you have some breaking news this hour.
We do, Jay, and good afternoon to you as well. A mistrial has been declared in the trial of a man accused of setting the fires that killed 9. Prosecutors say Stanley Ford set the fires and killed 2 on Fulton Street in 2016, and a second fire that killed a family of 7 on the same street a year later. A bailiff tells us the judge interviewed the jurors and does not feel they can move forward with a fair trial right now. There will be a hearing in August to decide on a new trial. We'll have more of this at 6. The Supreme Court ruled today that gay, lesbian, and transgender workers are protected from workplace discrimination under a Title VII clause in the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The act bars discrimination on the basis of sex, among other reasons, which the court now says includes LGBT plus workers. Cuyahoga County Executive Armin Butte is now involved in a lawsuit by the state. Former county jail director Ken Mills is accused of tampering and falsifying government records after 9 inmates died due to alleged unsafe conditions and inhumane treatment. Prosecutors also claim that Mills lied to investigators about the jail situation to keep Butish, who hired Mills, from taking the fall after a failed attempt to reorganize the jail. And the Red Cross is now testing all donors for COVID-19 antibodies, whether they have ever shown symptoms or not. The Red Cross says it really needs blood right now and is offering $5 Amazon gift cards to donors through the end of the month. And that is all at 5 o'clock, Jay. We'll see you at 5:30.
Absolutely. I know I just recently made an appointment to give. We hope all that are watching will do the same. Russ, we'll see you in about 30 minutes. Thanks.
A little boy had a big win this weekend. 9-year-old Nathaniel Honvu took home the first-place trophy on American Ninja Junior Warrior over the weekend. The South Euclid native faced off against obstacles like the spider wall, the double tilt ladder, and the shrinking and floating steps, and took on more than 140 kids from all across the country. Nathaniel is not going home unrewarded. The 9-year-old won $15,000 for finishing in first place. So congratulations to him.
Very much so. Well, unfortunately, former Browns Iron Man and future Hall of Fame left tackle Joe Thomas will not be vying for the championship on NBC's Titan Games that will air later tonight. Thomas lost last week in the semifinals to fitness freak Matt Chan. I still had a chance to catch up with Joe to talk about that and other issues related to the Browns and the NFL.
Where are you on the NFL playing games in September as fans are hopeful they will?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful, really. I'm not part of any of those discussions behind closed doors. I imagine they're trying to figure out what it could look like and come up with a lot of different options. I was really optimistic and kind of just assumed that it would be a normal football season until all of a sudden the last couple of days when baseball, which is not even a contact sport, all of a sudden they can't figure out how to play a season. And so that starts me to get a little bit concerned, like, well, maybe because this is the first time we've done this, we've been in this situation, there's a lot of things that we don't even know that we don't know and we can't account for. And that as we get closer to the season, it's going to be like, uh-oh, we don't have an answer for this type of stuff. And so while I'm optimistic and hopeful, I am a little more concerned in these last couple of days that basketball and baseball haven't been able to figure it out. And, you know, football, the ultimate contact sport, I think they've got a lot of things that they need to make clear to everybody from a fan perspective for us to believe that a season is going to go on. Like, well, what happens if somebody gets sick? What happens if do you quarantine a whole team, or are they going to be able to like throw bye weeks out there in case a couple people on a team get sick? Like there's a lot of questions that are kind of bubbling up.
Joe and I also chatted about the NFL kneeling controversy, and we'll hear Joe's thoughts on that coming up tonight on Front Row at 7 o'clock. Straight ahead on What's New, fans of Ohio City's old-fashioned hot dogs may miss the restaurant, which closed its doors recently after 92 years in business. However, a piece of the old gem lives on. We have that story next. And Jason Fraser in for Matt tonight. Jason, how's the weather?
Well, we have had an absolutely picture-perfect day over the last couple of days, including today. But coming up for you after the break, things are about to get really warm around here. I'll let you know how hot after the break.
Well, you may remember this. The old-fashioned hot dogs restaurant in Ohio City had to close its doors after 92 years, which is a super drag. Last week, an iconic part of the neighborhood was taken down. Now, thanks to another business, the restaurant's legacy will be preserved in a pretty unique way. As Romney Smith reports, that's a good sign.
We always say we just don't sell things here at All Things For You, we sell memories.
From the retro and cool to memories from childhood, it's an eclectic collection of furniture and accessories. The goal, to keep the memories alive and out of the dumpster. So when the Sorma family, owners of old-fashioned hot dogs, needed help selling their sign, they asked All Things For You, who had a different idea.
My partner Dwight and I decided we're going to purchase it because we want to keep it here in the neighborhood.
Last week, the sign came down and moved into its new home just a few doors down Lorraine Avenue. You see, the businesses have been neighbors for the last 2.5 years.
I think that they were relieved and happy. One family to the next family, to the All Things For You families.
The bulbs are bright again, the neon tempting, beckoning you to come inside, not for a meal, but to remember. A menu board, chili pots, and stools all will be part of a future display full of memories. And the word has gotten out.
I can't tell you the overwhelming reactions we've had on the sign and people wanting to purchase it. And then, of course, we have to disappoint them and say that we are keeping it.
Owner Tim Yanko has his own long history with the restaurant.
Well, certainly we ate hot dogs, every other day when we moved into this space here. But my father brought me to the hot dog inn when I was a little boy.
The restaurant sits empty. This, the only sign. Now, in a small way, its legacy lives on.
People are happy that we have the sign and that we're gonna keep it here in the neighborhood and display it so people can see it.
Romney Smith, 3 News.
That's a happy ending for that sign and all. Still kind of a bummer, man. I spent a lot of really wasted nights ended up at that hot dog place very happily. And I miss it dearly already. Did you ever get the chance to indulge, Jay?
I did many years ago, and I'd almost forgotten about it, to be honest with you. I was reminded when Leon Bibb, you may have seen the piece, Leon did a piece a couple of months ago as the 92-year-old establishment was kind of winding down its run. And I made it a point to tell Leon what a great piece it was first, but what a shame that it had to end. My hope is, and I'm sure I'm not alone, that someone will buy a small piece of land downtown and sort of try to recreate that magic, and we can move that sign back out in front of that establishment and enjoy a piece of old-time nostalgia. I'd be right behind you. Cool story, Romney. Thank you very much. Well, the weather outside today, beautiful. The heat, though, is making a return. Jason Fraser is in for Matt today. Hi, Jason.
Hey there, Jay. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. You?
Good. So I have a little weather trivia for you. Do you know how many days are left until we officially begin the summer season?
Yes, I do. It starts June 21st, sometimes the 20th. I'm not sure with leap year. Let me go with 5.
5? Oh, you are absolutely right. And you know what? We are going to take the maps and just show you my crazy summer graphic. I absolutely love this here. You know, the sun has on the glasses, even though the majority of us do not have that summer body ready, including me. We are definitely counting down the days until summer. And so we got 5 more days, and I am definitely ready. But you know what? Jay talked about it. It was an absolutely marvelous day. We reached the middle 70s. We were slightly cooler than where we should be right around this time of year, but you know what? I'll take the 70s. 9:03 tonight is when the sunset is going to be, and it should be an absolutely gorgeous one. Temps right now, we're sitting pretty mild, 71 in Medina, 74 over in Worcester, and 75 right now in Millersburg. And when you also factor in some of these dew points right now that are in the mid-50s right now, it is feeling very comfortable out there, and we are going to continue to see comfortable weather at least for the next 24 hours, and then things are going to slowly start to feel a little bit more uncomfortable. Doppler Radar right now, the majority of you are seeing mostly sunny skies, and some of you south and east are seeing a little bit of cloud cover, and I can't rule out the possibility of a quick rain shower, but I think the majority of you today will be dry, and we do have a system that is southeast of our area that is going to try to make its way into Ohio, but I think the majority of us are going to be okay. National Design Mart, hour by hour forecast later on tonight will drop down into the 60s, and then overnight, many of us will drop down into the 50s. Tomorrow morning, we're going to see lots of sunshine, and by the afternoon, we are going to warm up into the middle to upper 70s. Here's a look right now to Universal Windows Direct 7-day forecast. 81 by Wednesday, and by this weekend, we are going to warm up into the mid to upper 80s. I think some of us may even hit 90 degrees. We have more news right after the break.
Yeah, I'm still here. How does it sound? Check 1, 2, 3.
Well, it's time to find out what's going on around town and what's clicking in Cleveland. Brandon is in for Stephanie this week. Brandon, what's going on with the Oscars?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It seems like coronavirus everywhere, and we know the changes that coronavirus has caused has hit many different industries, and really this was kind of just a matter of time. So now we know the Academy Awards for 2021 are already being delayed and will be held 8 weeks later than originally planned. And they're going to be held on April 25th due to the pandemic's effects on the movie industry. Now, this is good news for some filmmakers because the move also extends the eligibility window beyond the calendar year to the end of February. Organizers call this uncharted territory and say they want to make sure filmmakers aren't penalized for something they can't control. Now, of course, we still don't know whether the Oscars will be an in-person or a virtual event. Now, also coronavirus related, sources say Dallas Cowboys running back and former Ohio State Buckeye Ezekiel Elliott is among several players in the NFL who have tested positive for coronavirus. Now, this was reported by the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, who says Elliott's agent confirmed the diagnosis and says he is feeling good. Now, none of the players with COVID-19 have been in their team facilities, so hopefully that will prevent it from spreading any further. Now, personally, I hope this doesn't delay the NFL season because I really, really do need my sports fix. Now, finally, some good news for some of the cities, tourism hotspots. Today, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame reopened to the public, and masks are now a requirement. They've also limited capacity and have enacted a time ticketing system. Now, we also have a reopening date for the Cleveland Aquarium. They announced they'll open June 29th for pass holders and July 6th for the general public. Some areas where social distancing requirements aren't possible will, of course, remain closed. Now, Mike, again, I got to get back to my sports. Joe Thomas has me really nervous by saying that he, too, thinks that we may have to wait for the NFL season because baseball can't figure it out. I'm kind of feeling the same way, man. I really need my sports. I know that's not your thing, but I need it.
Yeah, now and again, I don't mind delving into that. And I would miss football dearly as well. But if you got to hear it from somebody, I guess it's better to hear it from Joe Thomas than anyone, right? I mean...
Yeah, I'm not complaining, but, Joe's a good guy, but I just wish he would have said football is going to play on for sure.
But it's like, even if I found out I was breaking up, or like my girlfriend was breaking up with me, I would want Joe Thomas to come to my house and be like, listen, bro, it just wasn't working out. It's not you, it's her. So if you got to hear from somebody, but you're right. I will miss football dearly. Thank you for the update, Brandon. I appreciate that. During the summer months, a lot of kids slack off on their reading. But one local mom is making sure every kid has a book to read. And Ohio State football players have to sign a coronavirus waiver. What exactly does that mean? We'll break it all down. And poison control centers are seeing an uptick in calls. Why the coronavirus pandemic is to blame, and an important message for all parents. Stay tuned.
Hi, I've gotcha. One, two, three, four, five. Checking the mic, checking the mic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Go.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
And welcome back to What's New. Mike Polk is in for Betsy today. Mike, every day at 5:30, you know the drill. We start the segment with a little something we call Tell Me Something Good, and I understand you have something very good for us today. What is it?
Boy, do I. And iconic. Today, the Goodyear blimp visited well-deserving healthcare workers. It flew over several hospitals, including Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital, the Cleveland Clinic, University Hospitals, and Metro Health's main campuses. Jay, the blimp will continue flyovers all week long. Tomorrow, it'll make its way ever so slowly down to the Akron-Canton area, and I think that's a really neat thing. That blimp is iconic, and that'd be a cool thing to see that is supporting you in what you're doing right now, like right outside the window. Wouldn't that be a neat thing to take a look at?
It really is. I mean, think about it. Whenever we're out and about and we see the blimp, we know that means something huge is going on. There's usually a huge game, either at, the Indians are playing a big game, the Browns are playing a big game, whatever the case may be. Be kind of cool to look up in the sky and know that the blimp is up there for you.
Yeah. See that? We're doing that. That's because of me that thing's up there. Yeah, that would be very cool. I actually got to ride in that before, too, and steer it at one point. And I got to tell you, not a great turning radius on that Goodyear blimp. Takes a little while to work its way around, but very fun experience.
Not exactly zero turn. All right, Mike, thanks. We'll see you in just a little bit. Right now, it is time for our top talker here at 5:30. And here in Ohio, we've had 428 new cases reported overnight. That is an increase of over 125 new cases than the day before. The total number is now just over 41,500. To put that into perspective, that would more than fill Progressive Field. That's how many Ohioans have the coronavirus, or at least have been diagnosed with it since the beginning of the pandemic. Ohio's slight uptick is similar to what other states are experiencing here recently in the last couple of weeks. Remember, 2 weeks ago, major protests began nationwide, and as cases start to rise now, that becomes a concern. President Trump is planning his own mass gathering. Alice Barr joins us live from Washington, D.C. Alice, what exactly is the president planning?
Yeah, Jay, President Trump is going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma this coming Saturday. This is relaunching his campaign. It's his first big rally since the coronavirus lockdowns. And it's going to be indoors, which has spurred some concerns from folks there among health officials in Tulsa. But the president's saying that they are planning to move ahead, though they are asking everyone who attends to sign a waiver acknowledging that risk. As crowded bars, restaurants, streets, and beaches reveal many Americans seemingly moving on from coronavirus concerns, a spike in cases in 22 states shows the virus is not done spreading. New York's governor threatening to reverse his state's reopening after receiving 25,000 complaints of businesses and communities violating safety protocols.
There are a lot of conscientious people who paid a very high price, did the right thing, and they don't want other people ruining it for them.
Every state began reopening to some degree by Memorial Day weekend, bringing people into closer contact. Since then, mass gatherings of protesters have added a new fear about potential spread. Whatever the source of infection, healthcare systems are beginning to feel the strain again. From the Houston area to Arizona, where hospitals have activated emergency plans, while one of President Trump's top economic advisors vows the nation will not go back into quarantine.
We have no intention whatsoever of shutting down the economy. The cost of that would be much greater.
President Trump set to hold his first campaign rally of the COVID era this Saturday in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which has seen a significant increase in cases. The city's health department director telling Tulsa World he's concerned about our ability to protect anyone who attends, including our ability to ensure the president stays safe. Acknowledging the risk, the Trump campaign is now requiring anyone who comes to sign a liability waiver, giving up the right to hold the campaign or venue responsible if they catch the virus. Also today, the FDA rescinded its emergency authorization to use hydroxychloroquine for hospitalized coronavirus patients. The administration saying that the drug that President Trump often touted has proven to be too risky. We'll send it back to you.
Alice Barr reporting live for us tonight from Washington. Alice, thanks. We appreciate it. Right now, it is time to check in with Russ Mitchell to get a look at some of the other big stories of the day. Hello again, Russ.
Hello, Jay. Here's what's happening in Cleveland Heights. 2 sisters have been killed in a hammock accident. The hammock the girls were in was tied to a tree and a brick pillar. Police say the pillar collapsed and the bricks fell on them. Both girls were rushed to the hospital where they died. The girls, 12-year-old Chasey Scarabilli and 14-year-old Scout Scarabilli, were students at Hathaway Brown. Lawmakers are considering a second round of stimulus checks. The debate centers on the size of the check, of course, but also the inclusion of dependents. Last time dependents received a lower payment. This time it could be higher, according to some proposals. And the length of the stimulus is also being discussed. There is some support for recurring payments on a monthly basis. And the July 4th celebration will go on in Akron. Today, the city announced it will host neighborhood-based fireworks displays. Those displays will take the place of the downtown celebration at Block 3. The city organized a synchronized program of fireworks that will be launched from several locations. So that show, anyway, is still on. GLC at 6 o'clock.
All right, Russ, thanks. We'll see you soon. Ohio State football players are getting ready for the upcoming season, but it's coming with an added layer of responsibility. According to the Columbus Dispatch, all players were required to sign a waiver acknowledging the risks of their return and that they are committed to following the proper health protocols. Any player that does not follow the rules could be left out of the athletic activities. Each player also has to take a coronavirus test. This as a report that former Buckeye Ezekiel Elliott, now Dallas Cowboys running back, has tested positive for the coronavirus. Mike?
Well, it's time to see what some of our favorite celebs have been up to. Here with our pop break is Brandon Simmons. Brandon, what's going on with the celebs today?
Beyonce is using her platform to speak out, seeking justice in the death of Breonna Taylor at the hands of Louisville police. Beyonce penned a letter to the Kentucky Attorney General demanding the 3 officers involved be criminally charged. Queen Bee is also asking the AG to commit to a transparent investigation and take a closer look at inconsistencies in the police reports. This isn't the first time Beyonce has used her platform to speak out against social injustice. Back in 2016, she invited mothers of victims who lost their sons to violence to attend the VMAs and walk the red carpet with her. And speaking out against systemic racism is former Saturday Night Live star Jay Pharoah, who says he experienced it firsthand. LAPD officers approached Pharoah with guns drawn while he was out exercising. Officers told Pharoah he fit the description of someone they were looking for. Pharoah told officers to Google his name before they eventually let him go.
I had never been in cuffs before up until that point. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm from the burbs, Luckily, my parents, what they did was they tried to shelter me and my sister for years. So we never saw that.
He went on to tell black men to continue to educate themselves and understand the law. The LGBTQ community is celebrating a big victory in the Supreme Court, but over the weekend, Twitter was focused on the sexuality of Spongebob Squarepants after Nickelodeon tweeted a photo celebrating Pride Month with Spongebob front and center. The debate goes back years, focusing on some of the depictions of the cuddly character in some episodes. In the early 2000s, the show's creator said Spongebob was not gay, but I think it's safe to say this weekend's tweet just keeps the debate alive, giving no definitive answer. Now, changing gears just a little bit, another story I'm sure a lot of you heard, but I think it's really interesting. Mike wanted to get your take on this one. Carson Daly, the Today Show co-host, said he no longer sleeps with his wife, Siri, saying that after they were pregnant with their 4th child, they just said they kind of had to give each other some space. They said everything's still cool, but they're both kind of big human beings. He said good-sized human beings. And he said we just kind of needed our own space. He has apnea, the work schedule. But what do you think about that? We got couples saying that it's okay to sleep apart.
Well, I think it's a weird thing to bring into the public forum for Carson Daly more than anything. It seems like something I know. I have friends who have those agreements with their wives and stuff, and vice versa, but they kind of keep it to themselves. It's interesting that he puts it out there for the world to debate, but it's up to him. Whatever rocks your boat and works for you, right?
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I'm not going to put mine in the public forum, so I'll just leave that a mystery for you to think about later.
Yeah, thanks, but that's a good question. Well, I'm sure we'll start a lot of conversations around Greater Cleveland today with that one. Well, thanks, Brandon. Still ahead, we introduce you to a local superhero who's bringing summer reading to kids in her community. And Jason, hey buddy, how's the weather looking? It's beautiful in Lakewood. Is it the same everywhere in Greater Cleveland?
Well, we have so far had a lot of dry weather across Northeast Ohio, but you know, all things must eventually come to an end. I'll let you know exactly when after the break.
Welcome back to What's New. Recent research from the Collaborative for Student Growth projects students will return to school in the fall with only 70% of their typical reading growth. That's astonishing. Of course, this is all due to COVID-19. Danielle Wiggins introduces us to Krishandra Matthews, the founder of Literacy in the Hood. She has a plan, a message, and materials to be the change she wants to see.
That's all I brought is these, so our table gonna be like this.
She sets up like a pro. A box of books.
Here's a full pyramid bingo.
Games, flowers, popsicles. All part of Krishandra Matthews' plan to promote literacy.
With COVID-19, everybody was pushing screen time. So now we're trying to push some carpet time and just some me and you and some reading.
Investing in minds, one book at a time.
Follow me on social media, Literacy.
Krishandra, who goes by Chris, plans to spend the summer giving out free books to families at events in inner city neighborhoods in Cleveland.
I just want to give y'all something to bless the babies at home.
Today, she's at a drive-through food giveaway at the Garden Valley Neighborhood House on Kinsman.
This is really about how do we get the books in the parents' and the children's hand, and how do we help them understand why they should be reading 15 to 20 minutes a day.
Molly, and this is what Chris likes to see. A 9-year-old giving her best effort to read the book just given to her through Chris's nonprofit, Literacy in the Hood.
They want these books.
And Chris is the ambassador on the ground to make sure families get them for free.
So the lady said that she got some books.
A 2008 study showed that children who receive and read free books over the summer experience the equivalent of attending 3 years of summer school and show higher fall reading test scores.
It's going to be all right for them if they keep on reading.
That was Chris's 9-year-old son, Derek, who's her inspiration. She says Derek started reading at the age of 3, and she couldn't find adequate resources when she lived in the city. She also found that 2 out of 3 low-income kids don't own a single book, so it became her mission to change that. Chris is able to give out free books because of donations to her nonprofit. What a terrific story. All right, let's go to Jason Fraser's house right now. I want to get a check of the weather. And Jay, I would be lying if I didn't admit that every time I throw it out to you and I see that sign in your kitchen, it makes me crave some tacos. Every time.
This one?
That's the one.
You know, I will say the overwhelming majority of viewers have loved this sign. By the way, in case you're wondering, it says, "As for me and my house, we will serve tacos, salsa 24/7. This is a Christian loving house. And we know God also has a sense of humor as well. So Joshua 24:15 is what that is named after. So regarding the weather, you are definitely going to want to go outside and eat some tacos. And when you definitely see what's going to be coming our way. Let's talk a little bit about what happened today. Today we reached the middle 70s, and you know what? It was, I'll say, about 3 or 4 degrees cooler than where we should be right around this time of year. But you know what? I'll take the 70s. We have sunset that is going to happen at 3 minutes after 9, and it should be a lovely, lovely sunset. So do me a favor, take a picture of it. You can tag me on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram at Jason Fraser TV, or you can download the Channel 3 weather app, and you can go to the second option there and upload it there. Temps right now across the region, we're still in the 70s for the majority of us, including 77 in Akron, 72 in Medina, and 71 over in Chardon. As far as the radar goes right now, all things are quiet. The majority of us right now are seeing mostly clear skies. That green that you see popping up there on the radar, that is not rain. That is just some ground clutter. A much wider view on the satellite and radar. There is some clouds that are moving to some of our southeastern counties. We're not expecting any rain showers, and if you do get 1 or 2 sprinkles, they will be relatively quick. You see that system that is south and east of us over in the North Carolina as well as Virginia area. Well, there is a concern that some of that moisture may turn into a tropical system, but we do have high pressure that is in control, that is blocking that moisture from getting into our neighborhoods. National Design on hour-by-hour forecast. So by 8 o'clock, many of us will be dipping down into the 60s, and then overnight we'll see temperatures dipping into the 50s. Tomorrow morning, many of us will be waking up to some beautiful clear skies, and by the afternoon time, I can't rule out the possibility of a quick drizzle, but again, I'm stressing the word quick here. I think the majority of us will be dry, and we'll see temperatures improving to the middle 60s. All right, here's a look right now to Universal Windows Direct 7-day forecast. High for tomorrow of 78 degrees. Then we improve to about 81 degrees. And by this weekend, you know, it is Father's Day this weekend. I cannot believe that. Where's the time going? We will improve to the upper 80s. I do think, Jay, there will be some areas, particularly inland, that may reach 90 degrees. So it's definitely going to be barbecuing weather. Or if you're like me, I'm getting out the swimming trunks and I'm going to Edgewater Beach, and we're going to do a little dance, and we're going to get in the water. I'm like, yes, can't wait for it.
Very nice. Jason, thank you very much. We appreciate it. More people are deep cleaning their homes. That means there's a spike in cleaning has caused calls to poison control centers. We have an important message for parents. And our Worth the Watch is priceless. North Royalton Police and Fire made a birthday very special for a very special young man who has overcome incredible odds. That story's coming up.
Hand sanitizer is a hot item these days. It's like liquid gold. But if you're not using it right, it's not even worth using. A new study from the CDC found rubbing hand sanitizer on your hands for 30 seconds kills COVID-19. Anything less can leave traces of the virus. Here are a few things to remember. Make sure you're using sanitizer that's at least 70% alcohol, no skimping. Rub in a generous amount for a full 30 seconds, about the time it takes to sing happy birthday 3 times. What a weird way to measure time. And be sure to get in between your fingers and on the backs of your hands. And June is National Safety Month. And this year, it started with a renewed sense of importance, obviously. As families spend more time cleaning their home, there's been more calls to poison control centers, and they've been seeing an uptick in people giving them a shout out to say, hey, is this okay? Is this okay? In March and April, the centers received 90% more calls compared to last year. And because of coronavirus, it's unlikely that those calls are going to decrease anytime soon. Here's senior health correspondent Monica Robbins with what parents need to remember.
Every parent of a little one knows the importance of child-proofing a home. It's not uncommon for curious kids to taste, smell, or eat something dangerous. But in the time of COVID, where we're cleaning constantly, the risk has skyrocketed.
We call them sip and lick and taste exposures, where a child might see something, explore it, put it on their fingers and lick it and realize it tastes bad. And those are the kinds of exposures that especially younger children have.
Sarah also works in Cleveland Clinic's emergency department and sees firsthand what's happening.
There are always accidents, and it always happens in the blink of an eye. These kids are fast and they're curious and they grab things, and it can happen just like that.
Sales of household cleaners are still spiking, and so have calls to poison control.
I'm glad that people are at least calling, but it's difficult to hear that people are having more reasons to call.
40% of cases involve kids under age 5, typically toddlers. According to the CDC, nationwide, calls to poison hotlines went up 20% from January through March. But at the Central Ohio Call Center, they jumped 90% in March and April. Cleaners and disinfectant exposures were the main reason. So remember, don't mix chemicals, wear protective gear, make sure the room is properly ventilated, and the most obvious, store chemicals out of reach of children.
It just needs to be stored up high and out of sight. If you have a cabinet that locks or has the latch that's difficult to open, that's even better.
The same goes for medications, as many households have stocked up on over-the-counter painkillers and cold medicine. And kids aren't the only ones at risk. Calls also came in for adults who accidentally inhaled fumes after mixing cleaning products. Read the labels. Don't mix. Monica Robbins, 3 News.
Great advice. Thank you, Monica. Our Worth the Watch, which is coming up next, is nothing short of amazing. What local police officers did to make one young man's birthday one that he will never forget. Stay tuned.
Marissa? I don't know if there's going to be a baseball season. Al Wool, I got you. Great to have you back here in the Camino kitchen, getting ready for sports. Jimmy has the night off. Okay.
Is that live?
Go. Sounds good.
Yes, I do. Can you hear me? Mic check, Monica. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, hello, hello. Is that too bright? I can fix. Are you sure? Okay.
Our Worth the Watch tonight is all about beating the odds.
Yeah, it is, Mike, and this story is special to me. My college roommate's nephew, Jake Cerner, turned 18 years old on Saturday. Considering the odds were stacked against him to ever see his third birthday, I'd say this is worth the watch. Police and fire of North Royalton gave Jake a mini parade right in front of his house. This happened Saturday. Friends and family gathered to help in the celebration. Jake and his sister Jordan both suffer from an extremely rare condition. It's called rhizomelic chondrodysplasia punctata. There are fewer than 100 living children dealing with the disorder worldwide. Their parents, Jeff Cerner and Mindy Lee, started an Ohio chapter for Rhizo Kids. The goal is to raise money for the much-needed research on the condition. Jake, happy 18th birthday from all of us at What's New. There is, by the way, a website. It's rhizokidsohio.com if you want more information on how to help. Thanks so much for watching.
That's awesome.
We invite
Happy
you
birthday,
to join us
Jake.
again on Monday. Yes, happy birthday. Enjoy us tomorrow at 5 as well. Mike?
What matters most with Russ starts right now.